all of us to our today's session. Uh, Today's session, we are still talking about Microsoft Excel, Advanced Microsoft Excel, and Advanced Microsoft Excel. And let me just share my screen shortly. Huh. Yeah, so yeah, if you can see my screen, so today is our session 2 in Advanced Microsoft Excel. However, before we start our session 2, we usually have a recap of what we covered. So a recap of what we covered is basically especially the assignment of what we did. So maybe Meshak, if you can take us through what we covered before we look at the assignment. Maybe if you want to share your screen, you can share your screen. You can ask me to drop and allow you to share your screen. So Meshak, the floor is yours. So you can maybe ask me to stop sharing and you share yours, and or if just talk, you can just talk. We can't hear you. Sharon, are you there? Sharon, are you there?
Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can
I'm
hear
here.
you now. We can hear you now, Meshak.
Okay, niwe basi ndio ulikuwa umepotea. So I was saying
Yes.
that in our last session we talked about Microsoft Excel,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if I can maybe share my
You want to
screen.
share your screen? Very nice. So let me stop sharing. Uh-huh.
Okay. So let me try and share this. So we were talking about I don't know if you sorry. Let me share my screen. Entire screen. I don't know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, so we are talking about Microsoft Excel, and we started by naming of cells. For example, we said we name cells with the column, rows against column. For example, where I am, we call it A1. Then we also talk about data entry, where we said there are two types of data entry. There's the manual one where you can type. For example, what I'm doing, you can type, and you can also use form to insert data. And you can also as well do what we were talking about in the spreadsheet, online spreadsheet, where we can do the data validation. We can do the summing of this data, can get the average, and you can even do the insertion.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe someone can add,
Yeah,
whoever was
yeah,
in class.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that insights. Sharon, also add something.
Okay. We also, I believe Meshak has touched about everything
Yeah.
that is about data entry. We also have formatting
Yeah.
and also use of the total sum, those functions, if I'm
Yes.
not wrong.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That is
Great.
the total cells, average,
Mm,
maximum cell, minimum cell.
yeah.
Yes.
Good, 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 good. Okay. Great. So thank you so much. So yeah, actually our today's session will also be building on top of what we covered in the previous session. But now before then, maybe Sharon, if you could share your screen on the assignment that we gave. from the previous
Okay.
session. How you went through the assignment. I think that will give us a full recap, and that will build a building block to our today's session. So if you can take us
Okay.
through the assignment. Yes.
Can I share my screen?
Yes, yes, yeah. You are free to share your screen. Meshak, can you mute? I don't know if Meshak you're on unmute, so let me mute you. Oh, thank you for muting.
So is it visible?
Yes, it is visible. So if you could go to Excel, I think it will be okay.
I go to Excel
Yeah,
or I just
even the one
open
you,
the one I
yeah,
sent.
the one you sent. Just open the message above, just after my reply, before my reply.
Just go this. I, sorry.
Not that one. Just where you are. Yeah. Kindly regards.
This
Click
one.
on kindly regards. Yes. Click kindly regards. Yours. Sharon Chelagat. Click on Sharon Chelagat. You will see. Yes. There is your Excel. So you can download it so that you can open it.
Is it okay?
Not yet. Can you download it to Excel? Download it. Click on the download icon on the
Mm.
left, on the right. Think on the right hand side. Don't open with Google Sheets. Yeah, that one. Click. Yeah, I think it's downloaded. You are downloading like two items. So go to your files and go to downloads. You'll see your downloads. Can you go to files? Yeah, it's there. You can now open that one. Yeah, just double click on it. It will open.
Taking time.
No problem.
It's taking just taking time.
It usually takes time, right?
Okay.
Um, so maybe because
It's
of
still
time,
loading.
is it opening? Still loading. Maybe you can maybe stop sharing and I help access from this side, and I think it will be faster.
Or can you share with the one that you have? Then I can
Yes, you can explain.
discuss about it.
Sure. Right.
Okay, I've stopped share. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Yeah, there we go. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Yeah, so you can okay.
So
Yeah, you can
I
proceed.
believe in this I can go on.
Yes, yes.
I believe data entry is well explained because you just entered the data here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. So,
Okay.
what I will do,
So you enter the data. Yes.
yeah, what I will do, yeah, we had an assignment that we had shared in the
Yes.
WhatsApp group. So, this is maybe because of Maureen, so I've shared again in the WhatsApp chat. So the assignment for session 1 was a business task from a manager. So the manager asked you, please build a similar sales tracker. So we had covered about this sales tracker where we were putting some entries for the salesperson, gender, product, unit sold, just that. And then we did some data validation like creating a list and so on. So this assignment was based on what we covered in the class. So please build a similar sales tracker with at least 5 transactions. So this was a business scenario for a company ABC, a company called ABC, which sells electronics. And in this company had different salespersons. And if you want to track the sales of each salesperson, then you have to have a sales tracker. So this data of these sales people contains their gender, the product they are selling, the unit sold for each product that you sell on every day, and then the unit price of each product, and then now amount comes as a product of the unit sold multiplied by the number of the price multiplied by the number of units that were sold, which now gives you the amount, and then you record the date on which these products were sold. And then from there, we had follow-up questions. After you coming up with this table of data, this kind of data, we had follow-up questions. The first question was asking, also calculate a weekly total sales. This is the weekly total sales. This was a question that was answered by Sharon. And now when we look at what Sharon did to get the weekly total sales, what she did, she used sum. So she wrote sum is equal to, then she provided the cell reference for the amount of the each day. This is like each day, sell for each day. And so when we want to obtain the sale for the week, for the total sales, then we can be able to use the sum function to get the total sales. Then from there, we had a follow-up question asking on average units price. Average unit price. So average unit price uses the average function, and the average function of each unit price. Now you have to reference this column of unit price and not the amount. That was the average unit price, which is totals to Kenya shillings 34,833. So what does that mean? That means that on average, each product here costs are roughly around 34,000 on average. That's roughly on average. And then the next follow-up question was on the highest and the lowest sales. Highest and lowest sales. So these are salespeople. And if we are talking about the highest salesperson, made sales of around this Kevin 420 using the max function. You can see here Sharon used max function to be able to obtain the highest sales. Same thing happens to the lowest sales. The lowest sales were experienced on uh, from this salesperson known as Angeline. So these were some scenario entries that were made by Sharon. However, you can also have your different data. We did not provide the data, we just provided the column names of each. And so you were to come up with these data entries. And again, other things that we learned from the previous session, if you have been able to follow on the recording, is things to do with data validation using drop downs. Checking that, Sharon, I can see there is gender here. So gender, we can see male, female. So that's drop down. Same thing can also happen to products. So this is data validation, very important. The way we do it, I'll just repeat quickly. Suppose you want to do here data validation for products, you have to go to where you want to insert that validation. For example, on the cell C8, and then proceed to data. Then from data, you will go to data validation here under data tools. Data validation, click on the drop down, then click on data validation. Then from here, shift from any value to list. And then under source, you can now write maybe if it's laptop, tablet, phone. So you write the unique products that you have in your shop, printer, things like that, and all those products that you have. By just separating with the comma, you can be able to accessories, can be able to create a drop down list, and charger. And then you click on OK. Before we put the input message, things to do with the input message and the error alerts. So that's what we did from the previous session. Then from here, you can now see you have a drop down that can help you easily enter your data. Instead of every time typing manually, you can easily select from the drop down. Another advantage of the drop down, not only minimizes or non-time consuming, however, it also gives you an opportunity to avoid inconsistency in your data. Suppose instead of laptop and you make a wrong entry like laptop, it will tell you like this value does not match the data validation restrictions defined for this cell. And so this helps a lot in terms of inconsistency or wrong entries in your data. So this is very, very important, and I would like us to review, work on our assignments. Thank you so much for Sharon. This was well taken. And we are now today building on top of what we just covered in the previous session. We just delete these cells from here so that we can use this, your data, to learn for today's session. Maybe for those who have not been able to do this, I'll share this data with us, maybe in the WhatsApp chat, so that we can have that in order. So let me check here, so that we can have that in order. It's here. Yeah. So this is the data that, you can use for today's session if you have not created the URC yet. So thank you so much, Sharon, for the wonderful walkthrough that you did. And for today's session, let me see if we have here something. I think I had something here that we can use as a guide. So we have already went through a recap, but if you want full details about what we covered, you can be able to check it out in our YouTube channel. So in the previous session, we talked about some functions. We looked at some function, average function, minimum, maximum, and count functions. But again, we'll maybe repeat that as we will be doing what we want to do now today. So by the end of today's session, learners should be able to use formatting tools to enhance readability, apply and combine basic functions like sum, average, minimum, maximum, and count. And then also, you should be able to use best practices for data entry and data cleaning, and use Autofill and Flash Fill for faster input. And then maintain clean and standardized dataset for a business report. So that's what we want to learn from this session. So we have already seen a recap of what we covered in the previous session. And today we want just to learn on how we can format our data. Now that we have our data, let's look at the font style and the size. Maybe make some header bold. I can see Sharon already did that. In some consistency, maybe you would like a particular font type in your data. We are going to see that. How to increase the size of the titles or the totals, we are also going to look at that. So that's what we want to look at it just now as our first thing. that we'll be doing. So you can see Sharon already made bold this, and you can see this data is easily readable, by the way. You don't have to struggle. You can see that every information is seen. So you can minimize and maximize your columns by just dragging on this conjunction between two columns. This is how you can be able to minimize and maximize the column names. So to make these things bold, you have to highlight the column titles. Highlight the column titles. To make them bold, you highlight and Control B. Control B is the shortcut for making them bold. If they're already bold, they will be unbold. So if you use Control B is the shortcut, if they're already bold, they will be unbold. So they will be the bold will be dropped. But if you don't want to use the shortcut Control B, you can still navigate under Home. You can see B here. If it is highlighted like this, means that this content is bold. If you click on it, it will be unbold. That is about making the font bold. Another type, font type. Now the font type here is where you can be able to switch from one font type to the other. But you need to ensure that your data remains consistent. So you can use Arial, or you can use the Calibri or Calibri Light. So you can just switch and see how your things are. However, for professionalism, you are recommended to use some familiar fonts like Arial, Calibri, and some familiar fonts. New Roman. Yeah, Times New Roman. So these are some of the familiar fonts that you can use in your work. So that's advised. I think that is in order or now font style, and you can even maximize and minimize the font type, font size here. So you can make it whichever big, however big you want it to be, you can do that here under fonts. If you want to use this can be used to increase or minimize, so you can use this also. If you want to change the color, you can change the color here. So this color changes the color type, the font type color. It changes the color, the font color. So you can change the color, but remember, you need to maintain professionalism whenever you're choosing these colors. And then you can even format the background color for this entire row up from here to here. You can give the background color by choosing a theme color. The theme color should align with the font color so that your things are readable. Here is where you can be able to format that. Right? Those are a few things that you need to note. And then alignment. You can choose how you want to align your words. If you want to align everything to the right, the way it is, everything to the left, the way it is, to the center, or to the right, you can align things the way you want here. Here is where you can align that. Wrap text. Suppose you have a very long text that does not fit in one cell. Instead of it being hidden, for example, if I have something like this, instead of it being hidden like this, you can use the wrap text to ensure that everything is visible. So these things will be organized like this so that you can see everything in your data. If you want to go back, you just click on the wrap text and everything will disappear. So those are some basic guides that we have introduced ourselves to the data that we have. You can increase the size, you can use the consistent fonts and make some header bold. So we have also looked at the font and the fill color. We have seen the color code for columns. You can change the colors. Use bold red for totals. If you have total, you can be able to have a bold red for total, like for example the data that Sharon had. And then now emphasize important data with the fill color. So some important data when you are doing even your analysis, is good to emphasize on those particular data with a particular color. For example, if we were to talk about the total here, total sales, and maybe here we now use the sum function because we learned this from the previous session. Sum function, what it does, it helps you to be able to do an addition of this cell plus 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 this cell. So instead of us using this formula, a formula could have been equal to this plus this plus this plus this plus, and you can see it is very time consuming. However, Excel has built-in functions. Excel has built-in functions. Why use all that time, and you can just use sum, and then you can now select the range of cells that you want to sum. If you have individual cells that you want to sum, is when you can use this, put a comma, maybe go to this one, put a comma, and maybe go to the last one. If you have specific individuals, you don't want to sum the entire ranges, you can do that, and then you can obtain your sum here. But if you want to sum everything, sum of totals, just use cell range F2 full colon F7, F7, and you will see that automatically being selected here for amount. When you press enter, you have this. So you can use formula. This is the difference between a formula and a function. A formula is a typed user approach of creating a function that performs a particular task. But a function is a built-in. This is a built-in function that when you call upon, is a rule. When you call it upon, it will be able to perform a particular task. The same thing happens to things like average, maximum, minimum. What is the maximum revenue? What is the minimum revenue? So such like instances, you can totally populate them easily from Excel. So we are saying that if you have, let me remove this other one. Sorry, no problem. So we said if you have very key, very sensitive information that could require an attention of someone, it's good to put, for example, this color, make it bold, and maybe center align it so that someone can easily see the total. But you can even format this value here. You can give it another color, background color, that can make someone know that this cell is unique, and even make this value bold by making it bold like this, so that when someone reaches to your Excel, we'll be able to know something that catches attention of someone. So that's very useful when handling that. Next thing is using border lines. You can see border lines here, border lines. So bottom border, especially for totals, we are encouraged to use bottom border. For accounting people will also tell you that that if you're using total, you can use bottom border, and you can even make it very bold so that the bottom one is very bold and the top one is light. So these are some things that you can choose by yourself here. So some of us, we are not from the accounting class, but we know that for this, you need to ensure that at least you make your bottom line thicker, and so on. So that is a food for thought. So this makes anyone who is interacting with your Excel be able to know what are some key things that I should focus on when I come to this, especially on like the assignment that we had, especially on what is the average of the cells, what is the maximum cells, what's the minimum cells. Those things you must put them, format them with a particular color so that someone can be able to know that exist. So we'll proceed. Unless there is a question, you are always free to pause me and ask a question. And some of these things you can interact with them as I am even talking like this, and see if it is also working at your end. If it is not, you let me know. So we have talked about border. So if we are talking about, let's say, this entire table, and you want it to be in a particular border lines, so you select the data. You have to highlight the data like this. Once you highlight the data like this, you come to this drop down and choose the border that you want. It is usually advisable to use all borders unless under necessary circumstances you can use these other types of border lines. But it's good to have your data in such a manner. So this is not a table per se in Excel. It's not readable as a table per se in Excel, but you can see it. It looks like a table. However, in Excel, this is not yet a table until we format it as a table, is when Excel will know that this is a table. So you can see our data now looks better. So that's how you can be able to make some amendments here and there and make your things work. So that's how this works. Maybe I give you a 2-minute break so that we can be able to ask a question if we have, or else we'll be able to proceed. Is there any question? Are we together? Can I see thumbs up if we are together? Thank you, Meshak. Are we together, the rest of the team? Any challenges? Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Maureen. Right. Now, next thing is on alignment. We have already talked about alignment. Center alignment, right alignment, and wrap text. We have talked about those. So we said that if you have something that seems to extend, sometimes you may open an Excel file and see that there is this hash, 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 hash. So you'll be like, what is here? What does this mean? When you see such a thing in Excel, just maximize this column. You will see that you don't have hash, 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 hash. So someone can be stressed like, now where are these values? And so on. But if you are an Excel expert, you just come and just drag that column to the other side. Someone will feel like you've done a magic, but there's nothing that you've done. It's just that the space was not enough for all the messages to be populated. All the numbers, especially the numbers, are usually chaotic when it comes to that. So that's very, very important. We have looked at wrap text, what it does on the Unisoled. We did that and we saw how it works. So some of the things are straightforward as we have already interacted with. Now, maybe as an add-on on the assignment we had for week 1, from my guide telling me that I should give you an opportunity to do some things that we have done on our Excel. Maybe Maureen, if you downloaded the Excel, can you share your screen? And after sharing your screen, maybe just do some formats that we've done on this Excel. So we'd like to see that you make bold the first row up to here, make bold, maybe format with another color, then give the border lines for this, give the border lines. Yeah, just that, and then we proceed. So Maureen, you can proceed and share your screen.
Yes, I'll be able to share. But which I know I have an Excel, but I'm trying to see, do I open any data? Mama? Okay, let me access it first.
Yeah. So there's data I shared in the WhatsApp group. Yeah. So just download that data. That's what the data I've been using to reference to what we've been learning. So
Okay,
maybe you
just a
can.
minute.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I'm trying to share my screen right now. If you're able to see it, please let me know.
We can see
Okay.
your screen. Yeah.
So we have these. I'll make borders.
Yeah.
So I've done all the borders, and then there's that is all, and then average or summation. Okay.
That gives us the sum, and you can drag that to apply to the other cell. That's okay. Make it
Okay.
bold. Yeah. And maybe you
The
give a bottom.
the
Yeah, you can
double
use the
symbol.
double or the thick bottom just to highlight that these values are not the same as the other
The
values
others.
in the cells. Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
That's okay. Yeah, thank you so much. So let's now proceed to the next thing. Thank you, Maureen,
Okay.
for taking us through that. Now, next, let me proceed to share my screen first. Right. So we now know how to use sum, average, max, minimum. So let me give you a difference between count and counter. I think that usually confuses a number of people. So how can we use when can we use sum or when can we use count and counter? So the difference, what's the difference? So if you want, for example, you are asked how many sales person or sales personnel do you have? How many sales personnel do you have? Maybe the manager asks you, how many sales personnel do we have? What will you use? Will you use count or will you use counter? Hello? So, if we want to count all, so counter stands for count all. Count all. Counter stands for count all. So count all and drag like this up to, you can see the first column, the first row shows the header of each column. So if you are asked how many employees, or not how many employees, how many sales personnel do we have in our company, then you will have to omit this first row in terms of applying it to a counter function. So what does counter function do? Counter function will be able to count everything that is present. If you have anything in a particular cell, counter will be able to count and return the number. However, if you use count, count function is usually used for counting numeric values. If there is any numeric value, you use count. So when I press enter here, you will see 0 because these rows do not contain numeric values. The row are containing salesperson. However, if you are referencing to, maybe you assign these guys a unique identifier, maybe which is a numeric, and maybe we have here serial number, or maybe identification number, and maybe you have like 1, 2, and let me show you something. If you happen to have something like this and you want to number this up to down here, for Excel to detect a series, you have to select the two consecutive numbers. You can see these numbers are following each other, and then you come here on the bottom right corner until you see a plus symbol, then drag down. When you drag down, Excel will apply those numbers. If you have even to up to 1,000, you just drag like this. Excel will add them as you continue. So the secret is you have to do what? you have to ensure that you at least have 2 numbers. Excel will detect the pattern. If I was to have here like 4, what will Excel think of? Let's see. If I highlight these 2 and then come to the bottom right and start dragging, what is Excel thinking of? Excel is thinking of a particular series, a particular pattern. So if you happen to have such scenario and you are asked to name like number things like this in Excel, just put a sequence, then drag. Excel will detect the sequence and come up with a series. So for our case, suppose we have something like this that we are using it as a unique identification of each of the personnel, then we can use count here. But if you are using their names, then if you use count, you will get 0. But if you're using a numeric value like this one, you will get the exact number. So that's a very tricky formula that you need to know. Sometimes you might be wondering, why is it returning 0 yet it's supposed to return 6? So that's the difference. So this is count, this is counter. However, here, if you apply counter will tell you that actually we have 6 people, because counter just counts everything so long as there is no empty cell. There is no empty cell. So counter has no problem. Counter can perform either. But count only applies for values. Even when you look at the count itself, it tells you that you need a value for you to be able to apply that. So that's count. In our previous sessions, when we were talking about Google Sheets, those who missed this session on Google Sheets will be able to get this session later on in the last month. We talked about count if and count ifs. Talked about count if and count ifs. That applies even in Excel. Suppose you are asked, how many male sales personnel do we have? Or how many female sales personnel do we have? Then you'll have to come here. Let's say you come here and maybe here is the question, male. You want to answer the question male and how many female do we have in our organization. So you'll come to male, put equal to, use count if, range. What is the range? The range is the cell range that contains where you want to check and make the count. Put a comma. Criteria, you can choose to click here because male here is the same as male that is here. You can choose to click here, or you can choose to even type male in the bracket. You can choose to type male in the bracket, in the quotes. Male in the quotes, or provide a cell reference. That will give you how many male do we have in this. Same will apply to female. So the advantage of referencing, for example, the advantage of referencing like this, like for example, you click here, is that if I want to get for these guys, I just drag the cells down. We'll see how we do that. So you can see now I have the range, cell range from C2 to C7. The criteria is male. However, if I just directly drag this down, what is happening? I am getting 3 years. However, there is a mistake here. My cell range has shifted. But it's supposed to be C2 to C7. For now, it is reading C3 to C8. So for us to lock this, you can see still the result is okay because there is no female here. Suppose we had here female, then this could have been a wrong answer. So for you to avoid this scenario, you have to use absolute cell referencing. What does absolute cell referencing mean? What we have here is a relative cell referencing, where cells are not locked. So when you drag, things will be dragged and change the ranges. However, when we make cells absolute, how do we make cells absolute? We make cells absolute by using $sign. So $sign is used to make cells absolute. When I put a $sign before C, when I put a $sign before C, and also put a $sign this side, guys, I put a $sign here. This $sign means that I cannot shift from one column to the other even if when I drag to the other side, the column will not shift. However, the values can be able to shift because this is applying to only the number. So let's see what's happening here. Let's see what is happening here. Let me lock this also. Let me lock this so that this my mail does not change. Let me lock this so that my mail does not change. I'm just locking this so that my mail does not change. So when I drag this to the right, let me drag this to the right. What is happening? When I drag to the right, you can see my values are not changing. My columns are not changing because I'm not changing the position of the referencing. When I was to drag this down, let me remove this and drag this down and let's see what happens. So when I drag this down, you can see the column does not change, yes, but the values are still changing. The values are still changing. So for you to lock also the values, you have to introduce the $sign here. That's why you will see in some of the advanced Excel, some of the Excel functions are usually having this symbol. This symbol helps Excel know that no, perform anything that you can perform, but any cell, be it an alphabet or a value with a $sign should not be shifted. So when I drag this down like this, I get the correct value, but my cells also does not shift. My cell do not shift. However, if I was to do that, you can remember here again is still checking for mail. So what does it mean? I have to remove restriction on this value so that it can reference on B11 and not B10. So these things you will just learn them as you practice. I'll give you an assignment on that so that you can be able to practice. Let me remove these extra cells so that we can understand better. So you can see now when I drag this cell from here to here, I still having the $sign. So let me remove the $sign here. So $sign, I've removed it from B10 because I want when I drag this here to reference to B11 and not to reference to B10. That's why I have removed the $sign here so that I can allow the movement. And so I can, when I drag this, it's now okay. So I can see that it's B11 referencing to female and the range is referencing well. So that is okay. So that's the difference between absolute cell referencing and relative cell referencing. Relative cell referencing allows the data or cell range to change. Absolute locks the cell range in whichever direction that you would like it to be locked. So if you find any challenges, you let me know so that we can be able to proceed. Now, let's now go to some common problems in spreadsheets. Common problems in spreadsheets, and most likely, how do you handle them? Very fast. Now, the first common problem in spreadsheet is usually inconsistency in names. You are given data for people. However, this data for people has inconsistent names. So for example, I'll just show you a demo. Maybe let's have here full name. I think we have a lot of things that we can learn here. So I think this is also part of the things that we're supposed to do next. So first name, let's have here last name, last name like this. And then now the first name here is maybe another person typed John, and here maybe is Oluoch. Let's have something like that. Oluoch. Yes. And here maybe we have Andrew. Andrew decided to type things with the capital letter. Ondiek. Something like that. Let's have here something like Yegon. Yegon. Maybe keep Koech. So you're going to type 12. Let's have here something like, yeah, so we usually have these scenarios are usually common in businesses. And if you are a data person, you should be in the position of solving such related a scenario. The first problem, you want this data to be consistent. Remember, this data is like 1,000 rows, and you want this data to be consistent, where you need to have a proper format. A proper format is where you can have the first letter of each person to be capital, like the one we have here for Yegon Kipkoech. How can you do that for the rows that follows up to 1,000 people? So let me duplicate some of these scenarios so that we can just use that for learning purposes. So that use that for learning purposes. So you have things like that. So what will you do? So the first function we want to learn that can help us do some data cleaning is called proper function. Proper function. So what does the proper function do? Is equal to proper. Proper function helps you to capitalize every first letter. Every first letter. Every first letter. If it was first name, then you just click proper first name and then close and press enter. So every first name here will be capitalized. The first letter will be capitalized. Just drag, so it will capitalize everything. So this will be maybe updated first name. Updated first name. That's how you use a proper function. Proper function can help you clean this data this way. However, some of us, when you know these functions, you will not use one function one time at a time, one function at a time. You can combine functions. We call it nesting. And that one will come later, but it's usually handy whenever you'd like to do some things. For example, now you are told, first of all, clean this data and provide us with the full names. We don't want to see this data as first name and last name. However, we want to see it is at full name. So I'll first did this as a beginner. I will have an updated first name and updated last name. So that's what I will do as a beginner. And then now here I will now use proper function. Let me use proper function. You see now from here, when I use proper function and use the dragging to this side with the now cell referencing, let's see what cell referencing do. Now, cell referencing is now telling us that now we have shifted from this. When we dragged to this side, it has applied to B2 to hit this. So that's how you can also use cell referencing quickly, cell range quickly. However, if you want to type here again proper, it's okay. You can type proper here again, proper, and reference to all watch B2. Then close your cell. Press enter. Now you'll have all watch here. Then you can drag this down the way you want. Up to yeah. Right? Then you are asked now is when, once you have this, is when now you'll go to full name. Now you want to create a full name. So after this, I want to give you a practice on the data we have in our, the data you have, so that you can apply some of these things. So you'll just come up with maybe 2 names, and then you will do what we are doing. So in some circumstances, you are usually told that we don't want to see these people in 2 different columns. We want to see them in 1 column. How can we make this possible? So the first function I introduced is proper in Excel. I want to introduce, if you were to provide everything in lowercase, you could have used lower. So these are the partners of proper, lower and upper. These are partners of proper. So if you want to capitalize everything, you will use upper. If you want to make everything small, you will use lower. If you want things to be in proper format, you will use proper function. Is there a question? I can see someone. Is it a message? Yes, Meshak.
Your cursor is not moving. You're not seeing whatever you are doing.
Oh, okay. Can someone confirm that? Can someone confirm if that is the same?
I can see yours moving. Your cursor is
Okay.
moving on my
Maybe
side.
Meshak, is it your internet? Is it your connection? Are you able to see this proper, lower, upper?
Naiona lakini naiona kama ushamaliza kuongea inakuja baadaye, ina pop up baadaye.
Oh, lazima pop up baadaye Meshak. But when I am typing, you should be able to see that I am typing. Okay, maybe there's some lag. Sorry about that. Yeah, I think maybe there's some lag. So we have partners. We have partners of proper, known as lower and upper. So, and every function in Excel must start with an equal symbol. So whenever you are applying these things, becomes you need to ensure that you start with an equal symbol. So what do we mean by upper and lower? So these ones, for example, the upper one, if I apply it here, we're just testing. So when I say pro upper, Excel will know upper converts string in uppercase, lower converts string in lowercase. So you can apply that when you want it. So these are the partners of proper. However, because of joining these columns, I will introduce another function. So you can take these things as you are not. Every window, in every window, in every window laptop, there is a sticker. So you can just search for sticker here, and you will have sticky notes on your screen. Things like this, you'll have sticky notes on your screen. So you can just type sticky, and you'll see you can have sticky notes. Alternatively, in our digital skills class, we trained that you can use Google Keep as your sticky note. So instead of you looking for a book to write, you just come here and maybe type keep.new. For me, I like using shortcut. But if you don't want to do that, to come to App Launcher, look for Keep. Keep is the Google version of taking notebooks, so that you can keep everything in your everything in your laptop. So you can just click here on start, take a note, give a title. Maybe title can be session 2, week 1, so that you can remember things that you have covered. Then here you can put the notes now, what we are talking about, so that you don't write on your notebook and maybe you might lose the book. So this helps you whenever you have access to your email, you can be able to access. For those who are not able to have us in the digital skills, that's why we are reminding you some of these things one by one, but later on we'll cover those things. Now, let's now go to our function that I wanted to introduce. I wanted to introduce a function known as concatenate. Concat function. Concat function. Concat is an English word, concatenate. But for those who maybe come from the programming side, they can also relate. But concatenate is an English word which means joining, combination. So that's what we want to apply here. If you are asked, for us, we usually like these functions because they are not complicated. If I was to write a formula that does concatenate, we might switch off in this session. But I will also show you that after showing you the function, so that you can know that is not only one way of writing things in Excel. In Excel, you can have different ways of approaching a problem. So you just be open. So we'll put equal symbol here. Type a concatenate function, concat formula, concat formula, not concatenate. Concatenate is usually used for only 2 values, but concat allows you to even combine more than the values that you have. Not only 2 things, but you can apply more things, right? So maybe someone is unmuted. If you could mute, I think it will help because I can hear some background. Yeah, so thank you. So equal to concat, the first text you refer to, you see now we have this updated. So you will not refer to first name. If I was a beginner, I will do that. So I'll have to refer here. Then put a comma. So refer to what's the first name. You refer to the first name, put a comma. Now, how do we allow space in Excel? Remember, first name, then we put a last name. There will be no space. There will be no space between John and Oluoch. We will have John Oluoch as one word. However, a full name of a person must have a space in between. So first of all, I will press enter so that we can see the outcome. And then I will show you how we add the space. So you can see we have John Oluoch as one word using concat. So if we want to create space between John and Oluoch, we have to use the double quotes without putting any word in here. Just the double quote and the space. So you can leave the space the way you want. That will affect how the output will be, because the output will have a very big space. If you just provide one is enough. So that's how we add space between words in Excel. So you can have John Oluoch and apply this downwards by just dragging like this. And now you have a clean data. You have a clean data. If I was now asked for this, I will not go into all these steps. We usually have let me show you the other part of joining this using a formula and see how long it is. But it's not also difficult, it's straightforward. So you just put equal to using a formula. Just say equal to. And then you provide this cell here, John. Then use an and symbol. An and symbol. Then put the quotes. If you don't want to use concatenate, again put an and symbol. Then put Oluoch. So this is how you can use the formula instead of a function and still perform the same work. So what does this mean? This means that Excel has different ways of approaching a problem. The outcome is what is needed. How you approach it in some scenario is not usually a concern, unless otherwise. What we need is the outcome. So if you choose to use this is an and symbol. An and symbol definitely is like join, is acting as a join. So join John, leave some space, and then also add Oluoch at the end. That's what this is doing. So you can also use that for your learning purposes. You can see it here, the function, straightforward here, section. So you just reference things like that or use the concatenate. But if I was to straightforward, when I was given this to do that, what I will do, case 2 approach, I am given a problem from this end. I will not have many of these. So I'll just come here, put equal symbol, then now join some functions. So you start with the last action you should do is to join. So that's what I start with. I start with the concatenate. So I start with the concatenate, I start with the concat, I open my space. Then what do I want to concat? I want to concat this John, but John is not in good format. So I will need to make this John proper. So I'll write proper here. Then reference, then close. Then what do I want after concatenating this proper? I will put a comma. Then put the space that I will require. Again put proper function. I'm just like doing all the things that I've done here in one line. So I'll put here proper function. Then after putting here proper function, I will again now reference to Oluoch and then close and then close. So this first open has been closed to the last. Then we go to the proper function, which now capitalizes the first letter of John. Then I leave space the way I did when I was doing the concatenate here. Then I go to the second proper, which now capitalizes the Oluoch. Then I close this proper. Then I close the concatenate. When I press enter, I also get the same outcome as the one person who did all these other processes. So once I have this, you cannot submit formulas to your manager. Maybe your manager does not understand the formulas, but anyway, on a light note, but maybe he does not understand the formulas. So you will copy this, because this we are using a case study. Remember, our case study is about ABC company, electronics, and now we are working with the manager giving you some tasks. So don't ignore that the manager understands the formulas, unless you want to scare the manager. Then now, in the same place, if you don't want these formulas to be visible to the manager, and you don't want that when manager makes some edit somewhere and then everything now returns errors, after copying like this, you just right click in the same position and paste values only. Paste values only. You will see that after right clicking paste options, you will see values only. And you now click on that. So you can see now I don't have formulas anymore. Up to that point, I want to give you an opportunity to practice what we have learned. I want to give you an opportunity to practice what we have learned. So you can choose either approach that you want to use to solve a problem. So come up with the three. First of all, to make your work easier, I want you to, this salesperson had only one name. Okay, so maybe you could also create a new sheet. You add a new sheet and provide first name and last name of 3 people. And then now apply this. So who is ready to take us through this? Who is ready to take us through this? Who is ready to take us through this? Who is ready? Who is ready? Who is ready? We will guide you. We'll guide you, don't worry.
I'll share mine.
Okay. Let me stop sharing. Okay, proceed.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah. We can see your screen. Can
So
see
I've
your
just
screen.
taken the names from the first sheet.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to introduce the second names and Maureen and Maria. Okay. So I start with it's already proper.
Yours is already proper. I would like you first to go straight to concat. Use concat.
Okay.
So you have to provide the title of your column, which is full name. So concat is used when you want to provide to get the full name. So it helps you to join. And it does not mean that it's only applicable for full name. Suppose you have phone numbers. Maybe for example, you have phone numbers for Kenya is +254, and maybe you have your data with 07. So you want to combine that for maybe 1,000 people. So how can you join? So you use concat. So concat is your friend. So put a comma and then put the double speech mark, maybe in the space between them, between the space, blank space inside. Yeah. And then now put a comma again. First, you have to put a comma to allow you to add an extra text, which is now B2. Then press enter. Then now you can drag yourself to apply to the rest of the team. So that's how quickly you can use concatenate. But now if you want to share with someone the work that you have done, they will not need the functions. So they will need the outcome. So you'll have to select again, copy, Control C to copy, or right click to copy, whichever, Control C to copy, right click, where just the same place. No, just where you are. Yeah, just there. You replace there. Then paste values only. You click on values.
Just that one.
Yeah. Then there you go. So you'll not have functions again. So everything will now be sorted.
Yes.
Yeah, so that is it. So if you were to do the proper, is also straightforward. If you have a proper circumstance, just use proper function to just, maybe you can use uppercase.
It's already proper. Okay.
Maybe use uppercase for full name.
Upper.
So you just type upper, function will come. Then you just select the cell for the full name. Just select the one for full name alone. Upper is usually, you just provide one text. And there you go. So it capitalizes everything and apply to the rest of the cells. Yeah, I think that's straightforward. Thank you for you sharing your screen.
Okay.
All right. So is there any challenge so far with anyone? If we are together, maybe show with thumbs up. If we are together, show with the thumbs up. Sharon was up.
I don't know if I'll take you back.
No problem. Just share your screen.
On the no, I just need a clarification.
Okay.
You remember the challenge that most of us had in a sheet, Google Sheet?
Yeah.
The use of those functions in another sheet.
In another sheet. Okay, let me show you now. In Excel is still the same. So let me show you. Thank you, Sharon. So again, some of us, we usually build robust worksheets. So for example, someone comes and tells you, my business does this and this. I would like to track the sales. This populate, well, maybe some things are populating here. He wants some other things you need to populate here from this other sheet, reads from this another sheet, and many sheets. So such circumstances is what now Sharon is asking. So making some things reference from the other sheet. So suppose we have these guys here. But suppose we want to, let me just make these things easier for us to understand how cell referencing work. I just want to make a very simple approach here. So suppose we don't want these total cells here, this total cells that was here, we don't want it here, but we want it in another cell where someone might not be easy to alter. Maybe this cell is data. This cell is called the sales tracker, and this cell is called summary. So you would like to see the things here, things like total sales. You'd like to see here total sales. How will you bring here total sales? So to bring total sales, you'll write an equal symbol. Type here your sum. Go back to sales tracker. Highlight the column that you want to obtain the total. Put a comma while still here if you were to put a comma. But because sum is already done, just close. You can see your function here in the formula bar. Just close while still here. Don't go back to summary for you to close. You will get an error. You will get a problem. Let me just do that. When I go back to summary, before I close, it's already bringing because I had already done that. But if you were to do this in Google Sheets, you'll get problems. When you reference to a cell, you are advised to take a next action. For example, if I was to use a function like count if this side. Suppose I'm asked, maybe I want to track sales by male, and female. We want to see if male are performing better than female. So male, female. So for male here, I'll put equal to sum if. Here we are using sum if. We provide the range. What's the range? The range is the column containing the gender because we are referencing to male. So the column containing gender. So when I am here, I'm not advised to come back to summary. You can see this is now again reading summary. We are not advised to come back to summary before we complete our function. If you want to come back to summary, ensure that you put first of all a comma before going to summary, if comma is the next input. You can see here we have sales tracker, but when you go back to summary, it changes to summary. So it's referencing somewhere where there is no data, which is wrong. So we should be the sales tracker here, put a comma here. Then now go back. You see now we need criteria. If you wanted to refer male in the summary, now go back to summary after putting a comma here. You will not alter your cell. Now here you want to reference to male. So Excel we know that now when I want a criteria, I will go to the sheet known as summary. A2, A5. Then put a comma again because remember you want to go back to sales tracker to provide the sum range. So the sum range is now the amount. Then put close. Suppose your manager asked you, can you tell us how are male performing compared to female in this organization? In this organization, let's say for the sales personnel. Can we say that male are performing better than female or female are performing better than male in sales? So when I press enter, I can see out of this total, this is the contribution of male. Let's see the contribution of female. The same thing. I'll come to female here, down here, click on equal symbol, go to sales tracker. Oh, first of all, I have to provide the function. So the function is sum if range. Range is the gender. Put a comma. Criteria is male. So for female. So I'll come back here, click female. Put a comma. Sum range is now the amount. So I'll select the amount like this. Close. Press enter. Now I can see the cells, how male cells and female cells. If I was to, for example, this is currencies in Kenya shillings, but this Kenya shillings seems to, I think it has, this Kenya shillings, you remember how we formatted it is currency. You can see here currency. So here currency, some people usually need some customization. If you see that there is no number format there for you, you can go to currency, and if you wanted maybe if it's Kenya shilling and want dollars, you can switch here for the any currency you want, number of decimal places you can change there and everything. Yeah. And then once you have that, now you have this. Maybe this one also we can format these values to be currency. Maybe we have format painter here, and let's see if that format painter will apply to the total to read it as currency. You can see. So format painter is usually used to copy the format of a particular cell to another cell. So you just click on the format painter and then go to the other cell that you want and then put it like that. The same way, you can even take from here now, take the format paint here. There you go. Now it is readable. Maybe you want to format this, guys, and maybe you want to use this format. Just come here, click on the format painter, go to the summary, bold cells, and maybe that is not bold enough the way you wanted. Maybe you want to maximize this to 11, time New Romans, and maybe align to the center, something like that. Maybe the color for the values, maybe the color for the, maybe the format color, yeah, maybe you want them to be that and that and that, so you can play around the things. Yeah, so but that's how we reference another sheet from another sheet. Sharon, have I answered your question?
Yes, thank you. I'll try so, and then I'll give you a feedback.
Yeah, you'll
after
try.
the class.
Give me the feedback. If you feel you have not understood, you can still go back to the recording. We'll provide the recording. And then if you still feel stuck, ask me
Okay.
question. So any other challenge? Is everything all right? Is everything all right? So yeah, I think that was important for us. Some of these other things we have seen proper, we have covered about HAPA. Some of these things we are learning them as we go by. Data validation we learned in the previous session. If you have any problem, you'll raise. But the recording I think is straightforward, and also we had a recap of the same. A trip function is used to remove extra spaces. So suppose you have a space. Let's say, let me show you why space is usually bad in Excel. When I have male, you can see when we were doing some count, counting how many male do we have and how many female. Suppose I put a space here. This male will not be the same as this other male. Let's see the summary of the revenue. You can see the revenue has reduced. You can see this revenue has reduced because that male is not the same as the other male because it has some space. So sometimes when you are doing your calculations in Excel, it's good to verify if actually what you are doing is correct. So you need to verify. If you see inconsistency, find out where is the inconsistency. Find out where is the inconsistency and then solve it. Solve it. So that is we've covered. So some of these things are straightforward. We have covered. Autofill for sequence, we have seen that. For sequence, we saw that in the previous session. Maybe autofill we have also seen on the dragging for autofill. Maybe flash fill is the one we have not worked on. So flash fill, suppose you have a data like, I don't have here a good example for the data that we can use for flash fill. However, let's say, let me see this. Let me copy this and paste maybe somewhere like here. Sorry, this is now the disadvantage of remaining with the functions in Excel. When you are pasting, you are not advised to paste straight. You have to right click and paste values only so that you can remain with your values. So let me see on the flash fill. So let's copy this to another cell, another sheet. Don't want us to mix. So to another sheet. And so let's see if we can separate these things. So maybe John, press enter, or watch. Then down here, Andrew, Ondiek. Then here, you're supposed to write Yegon and so on. Maybe some other scenarios, maybe try to use flash fill. Let's see if flash fill will detect from where we have stopped. You can see magic, Excel magic. We have flash fill in Excel that can help you now know that, hey, if John was this John, Oluoch, John Oluoch. It means now this guy wants to separate from full name to first name and last name. So Excel detects and automatically does that. When I come here again and click on flash fill, if I wanted to flash fill, let's not click here. Let's go to this flash fill from this side. Then click on flash fill. Then Excel will again know automatically. So some of these things are actually small tricks that can save your time. You just first type a pattern that Excel can be able to read a pattern and just use these shortcuts for your benefit. This helps you save your time from other scenarios. That marks the end of our session today, and I have assignment for you for practice, unless there is a question. unless there is a question. So some of the things that we have already learned them in this session. So you will just come up with uh, your solution. I usually share this in the WhatsApp so that someone does not say that did not see the assignment. Maybe I shared by email. So check that in the WhatsApp. The email for submission is beyonddata@gmail.com. So you can submit your work there once you are done. That's assignment for week 2. So is there a question? Anything, any feedback for today's session? How useful is the session to yours? Be it business, be it whatever you do? How useful is it? I want to hear your feedback.
Okay, for me, hello.
Yes, Meshak. Yeah, Meshak, we can hear you.
Venye tunazidi kusonga ndio venye vitu zinazidi kuwa zinazidi kuwa ngumu ngumu, but for today nimepata challenge. Nitaanza na the last session that we had. I love to do the recording, nisikie recording vizuri, then I do a top up ya leo, then I'll be good to go, but is challenging life wise, but iko sawa.
Sawa, Meshak, thank you for your genuine feedback. Please review session 1 and come with a specific question where you will not be able to understand. And then now go through session 2, which is building on top of session 1. So it's good to do that. But again, the good thing is you usually have a recap so that you can remember what we learned in session 1 and session 2 and so on. Yes, someone else? Thank you, Meshak.
Okay, I'm also finding the class useful to me personally.
Yeah.
Mathematics is mathing. I find functions a bit challenging.
The maths is mathing.
Yes.
No problem. What we usually do, these are usually basic functions that you will get anywhere. Be it if you are doing for HR, if you're doing for finance, if you're doing for your own, if you're doing for someone, workplace, whichever work you're doing, these are common functions that you will get. Some of the questions that will be asked from data are usually the functions that we usually train. But as you go on with your practice, you will find these things easy. However, in life, you cannot know everything. Sometimes you might get a challenging question that would require you to do even further research for you to solve the problem. Some problems are not usually straightforward in business, in a real world scenario. You can see here we are creating problems and solve them. In some scenarios, we have problems that have never been solved. So you are the one to solve.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, thank you for your feedback. But again, on the Beyond Data Statistics Solutions YouTube channel, I have there a number of recordings on these functions. So you can go through when you have your own time. Don't just even concentrate on the recordings we have from our direct sessions. I have created recordings of Microsoft Excel and very amazing sessions I have conducted with previous cohorts as well. But there are some direct recording that I was recording specifically for particular things in Excel. Things like functions, especially functions. I took like a number of sessions just training on sum, all functions of sum if, sum ifs, those ones. Count if, count ifs. Those functions I've already explained them. There are recordings there on my YouTube channel. So if you have any challenge with the functions, you can review there. But we will be introducing these functions bit by bit as we go by, depending on the business scenarios that we are coming up with.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sharon, for your feedback. Maureen, how was your first session?
Mine has been interesting,
Yeah.
given that This is the work that I usually do on a normal basis, and
Yes,
you find
yes.
natumia the long route, so it's really a good way to start these
Yeah.
sessions.
Okay, thank you so much, Maureen. Um, and again, we say that at least now you are doing it on daily basis. We'll be giving you even difficult assignments so that you can be able to practice. You know, the best way of learning is by encountering a problem that you feel like you need to do research for you to solve. So that's how best learning is. But yeah, I appreciate so much for the rest of the team. Thank you for joining our today's session as we look forward to meeting again. Imagine another session is just right here tomorrow. So tomorrow we have another session, and yeah, let's join early and maybe have a fruitful discussion. So we are just learning about Excel this entire month. So I believe by the end of this month, um, you will be an Excel, let's say, master in some areas, because we have interesting topics ahead. Excel is very wide, so we have very interesting topics that we are going to cover. We are going to cover things like conditional formatting, where you can be able to format your data. We are going to learn about how to format data as a table. Uh, from that, general aspects of Excel on Home tab, we have interesting now on data aspects, where we'll be able to learn how you can get data to Excel, how you can split columns. For example, how you can split this column into two columns, this and this, without using Flash Fill. We give you all the options so that you can be able to learn. We will learn about what if analysis, goal 6 scenario. These ones are usually used in financial modeling. So I'll be training you on this later on. On this our topic, on this our learning. We'll also learn about data visualization, where we'll be talking about how to create charts. These charts, we'll be learning about that. We'll also be learning about pivot tables. We'll also we are also talking about we'll be talking about pivot tables, where you'll be able to develop very interactive dashboards in Excel. What do we mean by dashboards? Dashboards are interactive kind of data, interactive charts, where when you click on it, it can be able to show you some things. So we have a greater learning ahead. We have pivot tables that we're going to cover also coming up. So as we go, we need to practice. If you don't practice, you will get that time is not on your side. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining our today's session. Looking forward to see you in the next session. Have a great evening ahead.
Have a good one too.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye.